Man, we about to shit all over this shit.
But sometimes it needs to be done. And
sometimes a movie's a bad movie.
Star of the North.
Welcome to Nerds in the Dark. I'm Mikie
Darnel.
And today we're going to review Dark Phoenix.
Yeah, DP.
Ooh. Not the good DP either. Not Deadpool, and not
the fun one.
The fun one.
The bad one.
You gotta take a moment because, you gotta understand, we generally, we love movies here at Nerds in the Dark. Even if they're bad movies, we still got good shit to say about them.
Yeah. I love watching bad movies.
Yeah. So, when it comes to Dark Phoenix, let's give them the plus. Visually, this movie was very good.
Yes. Visual effects were dope.
I feel that if you were a person who was not a fan of the source material, you might enjoy watching this movie.
I never even saw the source material, so I watched it and I was like, "Oh, I'm visually liking it."
Yeah. Now, I think that if you're a fan of the source, if you're not a fan of the source material, and you're not a fan of X-Men, you wouldn't be watching this movie. Which means that most people who watch this movie will be disappointed by it.
Probably.
Alright. Now, they did what they could with what they had. Because they wrote themselves into a corner.
Yep.
Now, I'm not going to excuse this, but I will just say it. When you talk about Dark Phoenix and the Dark Phoenix Saga, there are a couple characters who are very significant in that story. You have Eric Shaw. Or actually, is it Eric? You have Shaw from the Hellfire Club. You have the White Queen, Emma Frost. And you have the Hellfire Club. They played a big role. You can talk about the Shi'ar Empire. You can talk about certain aliens. You can talk about Wolverine. Big players in the Dark Phoenix Saga.
Yeah. When
you go into this movie, you're a little unsure of what to expect because all of these things were either dead or written out. Wolverine has no ability to be in the story because he's currently roaming the Canadian wilderness without his memories, so he's not a part of the X-Men yet. Shaw was killed. The Hellfire Club's broken up. I don't even think they have the rights to use the Shi'ar aliens.
Kind of work around it, but at the same time.
So you have to figure out what they have left to work with, and what's available. And I do believe that they tried to do the best with what they have. So I'll give them those pluses that they worked to find some way to do it. Cue shitting on the movie. Go ahead.
I don't know. It's like the whole. There's just so much weird things, like plot holes. It's just like, how is that happening?
Yes.
Like, that can't happen because so and so is supposed to be over there. And I was like, okay, what's? I was like. Usually, I fucking click potholes after the movie, and while I'm watching, just casually watching, it's like, wait, that can't happen because I distinctly remember that. It's like, granted, I haven't seen the movie in a while, but I'm like, I could have sworn that person's supposed to do this.
Yeah,
it's like now this contradicts that thing.
There are distinct plot holes in this movie which breaks Days of Future Past, and that's a big problem. So Days of Future Past establishes that the timeline that Logan exists in the future, where the Dark Phoenix Saga happens in X-Men Last Stand, is also connected to the past that we're looking at in X-Men First Class and everything else, right? And that's okay to say, Logan joined the X-Men later, so them having established past without him, that's fine. But now we have two instances of Dark Phoenix at different times and different outcomes. and we know that they're connected because you can't say, that they have timelines that don't connect when Wolverine goes to his past, does things, and changes the future for himself.
Yeah.
That means that they are intrinsically connected. So the events at some point have to happen the same. So when you have a character dies that's supposed to exist later, that's a bad. When you have a character switch sides when they're supposed to be on the same side later, that's a bad. When you establish yourself as having a character who they don't meet for another 20 years, that's a bad.
Yep, and the whole I'm so alone. And I'm like, what? Like, somebody just said that. And you weren't. And then, but the whole thing was like, nope, I'm all alone.
Yeah.
Huh?
I feel like going into this movie, you had to expect that, there was a lot of don't care attitude.
Yeah.
Because they knew that Disney was buying and Disney's filling the franchise. So, whatever they do is not going to matter, right? Unless at the end of the credits, you saw some sort of tie-in to the MCU. Whatever you saw walking this movie was just going to go away. This is something that's immediately going to be forgettable. So does that mean that we are then due an immediately forgettable experience? I mean, I don't think that's true. But is that what they thought when they were making this? That's really fucking weird. And I'm very confused as to what I don't know what I expected going into this. I didn't expect it to be great, but I didn't expect it to be awful.
Yeah.
It was kind of shit.
Yeah, and it just...
Unfortunately, we've switched to a spoiler-free thing, so it's kind of hard to go into this, but...
Yeah.
Like I said, characters that are supposed to exist years later when the franchise starts aren't alive now. How many characters died?
3?
I think it's 3 characters that are supposed to exist later on certain and not be on certain teams. They're just dead. They introduced a new character, they introduced a new character in this movie who wasn't really supposed to join the team till way later.
Yeah.
And he wasn't on their team anyway. So it's like, okay, well, why? Why do this? I mean, visually, they got Phoenix's powers right.
Yeah.
Visually, in Alpha Mutant is insanely powerful. In Alpha Telepath is even stronger. You just have somebody who predicts, can predict and read movements from people. Even speedsters, just saying you know what? No, they're you think that you can walk on water to get to me? There's no water. That kind of shit.
And I liked it, the whole, every, fight was dope.
Mm-hmm.
But I was like, yeah. You kind of go to X-Men for, a little bit of fight, but also a little bit of the plot. And I was like, oh, hey.
Yeah, I'm not 100% sure if I appreciated the losing control aspect of Jean Grey. That's a part of the storyline, and that becoming the Dark Phoenix does grant her more control over her abilities versus trying to be good and having gaps in her memories because somebody locked them away. Yes, that's part of what we had in the original storyline. But the weird thing of I just suddenly can't control my power because it's too big and I'm accidentally killing people. It's okay, that wasn't really it. It was more they touch on this later in the movie, but really was it losing control feels good, and that's why I'm okay with it. I'm supposed to be afraid of this, but I'm not.
Yeah.
And early on, Jean Grey's just terrified for some reason. She's I'm gonna hurt everybody that I love, and it's just you're supposed to just be all emotion and be I fucking love this.
Yeah, her weird moodiness was
yeah.
This just doesn't feel right.
Yeah.
I want to throw tomatoes in the spring right now.
Yeah. Rotten tomatoes.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so these weird aliens that appear in the movie. Again, no spoilers, but there's in the movie there are three intersecting um, camps, or four actually. So there's the X-Men, uh, the Brotherhood of Evil, and the humans. Those are the things you always hear about in this set. Good, evil, and humanity. But then there were aliens. Um, the aliens have zero motivation.
Yeah.
They have no emotion.
Yeah.
And then it's just like, what is really driving you, and how do you function? Like, they almost function like a hive.
Yeah.
But
yeah, bees in a hive where they just sacrifice themselves, and I was like,
yeah,
weird because it was like it's
yeah.
what your said your motive was.
So there's a part to it where the aliens think, well, the aliens have the idea that if they can possess the Phoenix Force and control it, then they can replenish their world. They can remake. They can get back everyone they lost.
Yeah.
At least that's one way that they look at it. But also another way they look at it is like, we're going to use this to take over Earth. But it's just like, why? Why? You can literally create an entire planet. Why would you just say this planet here right now? And
yeah,
like, if you have that power, you have that power. I don't understand. Like, why take over another planet?
Yeah. Like, it's like everything is like by accident. But also, fuck y'all.
Yeah. And then, so there's this idea at the end that I don't really like, and I don't want to spoil it, of course. I keep saying that, I'm a fucking broken record here, but it's hard to talk about it. But, so there's a sacrifice that happens at the end. And we have to talk about, like, what that means and what that changes for the series. So, in the Dark Phoenix Saga, the original storyline, we have the clouded feelings of Jean Grey. And is she beyond help? And Wolverine ultimately decides that she's beyond help. And he's the only one that can get through to her. And, he ends her life. Because there's moments where she's coming in and coming out, and, the power that she has is just really too much for her to say, yes, turn this on, turn this off, whatever, right? So it's something that is tough, And I think that that's a big part of exploring Dark Phoenix as a character. Like, everybody loves Jean Grey. You see so much fan art for Jean Grey, so much fan art for Dark Phoenix, so much clamoring to get her back, even though that, like, most of the time she's not in comics because she's just ridiculously powerful. Like, it's like having Superman or Sentry on your team. It's just like, okay, the battle's over in an instant if we don't use them right. So, like,
yeah,
how do we write around having a character that can literally sense the moment someone says, man, I'm thinking about doing some bad shit today, and then shut them down from the other side of the world? Like, you can't use that. That's why she's constantly, like, not a part of storylines. But I think that having that sacrifice that we have again, and a kind of turn of a heel turn in here, really kind of destroys a lot. There's so much weird plot that doesn't make sense here.
Yeah.
Like, people do things they're not supposed to do.
Yo. And names get changed.
Yeah. I don't understand. You have the Hellfire Club stand-in, which just doesn't make any sense. You have Beast acting very unbeastly. Xavier, I mean, he does everything Xavier does. That's fine.
Yeah.
I don't have any problem with Xavier. Magneto is just awful in this movie. I don't think he acts in the way that Magneto would have acted. Everything he does is something that is within the capacity of Magneto to do. However, his heel turns in this movie are literally on a fucking dime. It doesn't make no sense.
Yeah.
Something that was very good about this movie. I'm gonna give you one good thing. There's a second to final fight where some shit's happening and mutants are fighting each other. And not only do they say fuck twice, you get 2 fucks in a PG-13 movie. It's ridiculous. They say fuck twice. Then you have two psychics fighting each other using Nightcrawler.
Yeah.
And teleporting him to different places throughout the fight. And it's so dope.
Yeah, that was nice. I was like, oh, okay. Oh.
Yeah. I mean, Xavier's still proven his own as, like, being, like, top psychic.
Yeah.
Next to Jean Grey, obviously. But, sitting here and doing multiple things with his mind was dope as fuck. But having the teleporter, like Xavier's calling Nightcrawler, like, get over here! And he teleports over, but then the other psychic makes him teleport to him instead. And is, like, ready to kill him. And he's like, no, teleport back! And he's like, he's doing all this shit with his head. And then he's like, he knows that somebody's fighting someone else, and he kind of just moves his chair back a little bit so they can see where they are, and he's just like, you stopped too? Although, it was funny, and it looked good, it delivered, the right kind of energy.
Yeah.
Doesn't fucking make sense because of the fucking psychic.
Yeah.
He can literally, he sees the battlefield in his head, because, whatever, there's only 2 people he can't see, or 3 people he can't see in his head. There's the alien inside the building, Jean Grey, and Magneto. There's the only 3 people he can't see. You can see everything else going on in the battlefield. Funny imagery, but, doesn't make no fucking sense. But
yeah. It's like, yeah, how to get there?
Yeah.
Oh,
I'm not going to complain. I'm putting it in the win column for this movie. That's one thing.
Yeah, the visually fights were good, but they also came a lot.
Yeah. So, how do you feel about the time skip at the beginning of the movie that establishes the X-Men as being in the positions that they are currently?
That was weird. Because it went from gave no real acknowledgement to purple face guy. Yeah.
Yeah, well, so it kind of does and doesn't, right?
Yeah.
It's really interesting. So we enter this movie after Age of Apocalypse, and we have that they had a very public outing as heroes, and that was great. And we start this movie, and they're basically at the top of their game. The X-Men are functioning at extremely high levels, and they have a direct line of the president. Yeah, which is it's dope. They have a red phone, except it's black with an X on it. But they've got the red phone to go straight to the president, and he's just like, "I need you guys for an important mission, outer space," And it's it's dope. But also, how did we get here? Because I would argue that after Age of Apocalypse, you trust mutants even less.
Yeah, one just trying to rip the planet in half. And it's
it's just oh yeah, these 5 together right here that helped us out. They're cool. They're good guys.
But the rest of y'all though.
Yeah, but they gave Magneto an island somewhere, and they were just yeah, no, this is cool. This is your land. You go raise some mutants over here. You're fine. It's U.S. property though, so come by whenever you want. But it's yours.
Yeah, it's just...
How did we get there? What happened? Was there an attached comic I missed? What the fuck's going on?
Yeah, I legit needed some the little fucking flip through scene.
Maybe my memory of what happened in Age of Apocalypse is bad, but I didn't think we were that well off.
Nah, motherfuckers
what
in the
happened?
house.
Jesus.
No house rebuilding. No
Right?
No, like give me a scene like it happened to talking to things like reading or something. But
Oh my god!
but I got a card flip. There was a card flip. Got a card flip though.
We did get some card flips.
So
we got several card flips. It was all right.
yeah, that was talking about the important card flip.
We even got the all inclusive train flip.
Oh yeah,
we got a train flip in this bitch.
Train flip was really good. I kind of like the way they did the whole train flip. I was like, oh, okay, it's a little different.
This movie's plot's terrible. I give the plot 2 out of 10. I give characters. I give the characters a 5 out of 10. Visually, 8 out of 10.
Honestly, I'd go with a 9 because I was like really feeling like every single time, like, okay, that was dope.
I mean, yeah, they put money into the effects. They should have put money elsewhere.
These Magneto does some shit. And I was like, how fuck like that in you?
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, no, it was dope. It was dope. And I think that it's really weird because this movie was PG-13 because it definitely felt like R. Like,
see,
it's very interesting. Like, you watch Logan, and Logan's like, Logan and Deadpool are like your X-Men R-rated movies, and like the violence levels in those movies are ridiculous. The difference is that Deadpool curses a whole lot, and you have like you have like his genitals appearing in different places. It's fucking whatever, right? But in Logan, there's just extreme violence, and seeing people's like heads and blood, blah blah blah, like just slashed them. This movie, interestingly, does a lot of similar violence, and I just don't know if they just raised the bar for what violence is acceptable in PG-13 or like what the fuck. Because
I think technically, as long as you don't see blood, it don't count.
Yeah, because wow,
So
like there was some real crazy violence here.
that like Magneto was fucking.
Them aliens got tore up.
And it's just like, oh, okay, cool.
Yeah, when we're at the final action scene, there's some intense, like some really good looking like fight scenes. So I'll give choreography. Choreography is gonna give me. I'll give you like a 9 out of 10. Like there was some dope fighting.
Yeah, definitely 9. I'm like, what's fuck?
All right, again.
But overall, though,
Overall, where you at?
4.5.
Oh my god. I'm also gonna be around there. I'm giving this a 4. This movie gets a 4 out of 10.
And you can wait for the Netflix. Is what we're saying.
Yeah. Wait for Netflix or
Not
Disney
Redbox.
Plus. It might be Disney Plus. But oh god, this movie just hurt. Like, I mean, I think our lowest rated movie before this was like a 6 out of 10, and we dogged that movie.
Yeah. Like, I would still watch that movie again.
Yeah, I wouldn't pay to go see this movie again.
Like, I'm honestly, I'm probably not even gonna watch this movie. I'm probably
Like,
gonna fast forward to all the fight scenes.
It's not the worst movie I've ever seen.
No.
Because like X-Men Origins was really bad. They really fucked up Deadpool and like it was just awful. This movie's better than that, but also it's not like I'm gonna tell people to go watch it.
Yeah, exactly. Wait for Netflix.
Yeah, this movie gets a wait and see out of 10.
Yes.
like don't refer a friend. If you really can't wait to watch it, like I don't know, man, wait for a $5 Tuesday or something, man. Don't spend real money.
You want to kill a date? Go see this movie.
Yeah. If you want a date to hate you, go see this movie. Or if you want to go on a date and a date where you don't have to watch the movie, you know what I'm talking about.
Exactly. Yeah, you sit in the back row.
Yeah. This is a movie for
This
that.
is that movie. Yeah, there's nothing special.
Yeah, you're gonna be like except for those final fight scenes where you're just like get up.
Exactly.
Like you're like, yeah, that'll be the only fun.
But then y'all can just still side eye while doing that.
Yeah. A little side action. Alright. This was our review. We'll see you next time on Nerds in the Dark. Hey everybody. Thanks so much for watching today's video. If you like what you see,
please let us know somewhere on the internet. If you'd like to keep up to date with Nerds in the Dark content, please subscribe. If you want to watch more videos, please click or tap on the left. If you'd like to see one of our more recent videos, click or tap the video on the right. Once again, thank you so much for watching, and see you next time on Nerds in the Dark.